Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I got a look at the Lightning for you. Vying on the screen, currently got Bay and Atago on there. Atago cuts down the torp detectability, and Bay, of course, affects destroyer concealment. Here we got a game on Atlantic. It's not a bad game. It's a pretty good game in terms of score and all that. There's a lot of things to talk about, both in terms of destroyer play and just sometimes counter destroyer play as well. So that's why I went ahead and picked this game to highlight today. Over here we're spawned north of A. You guys know my philosophy. Normally I want to cover the cap that we're responsible for, that we spawn on. We're going to have one battleship kind of pull forward with an attempt to support us. The other one goes towards B. If you're going to leave your spawn point, you can make an argument that the people that spawn north of the center spawn, i.e. B, can cover the flanks first and then proceed to capture the middle. Usually abandoning the far ends of the map, though, is pretty ineffective, pretty bad positioning. It's kind of hard to recover that ground once you concede it right off the bat of the match. So I don't recommend doing that. But we're going to go ahead in here. We do have 4 destroyers on their team, 3 on our team, so we do have to keep an eye on destroyers popping up over here. Again, we don't have a lot of support close range. Usually destroyers opening moves, when you get into trouble, it's usually when you pull too far forward ahead of the people that can possibly support you. So don't always make a mad dash. Don't gun at full speed ahead and then just charge at the enemy. You want to maintain a relative closeness to your teammates if at all possible. Here we're going to get on A, though, and you're going to see we immediately, here we encounter some torps. And so that allows us to know that there's a destroyer at least thinking about being over here. He's not on the cap, though. You can see A, we're capturing it. It's not contested, so we know for sure that he's not on the cap. Here we're going to kind of slow down, back up, and then point away from the enemy. And that allows you, if you get rushed, especially if you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of support, then you can get out of there quickly without dying. You don't have to get on this cap, defend it with your life, and then go down in a ball of flames. You want to get the cap if possible right off the bat, but you'd rather maintain your life and get out of there alive if the situation dictates that you need to do that. So usually getting on the far end of the cap, or from the enemy's perspective, the close end of the cap from your perspective, and then kind of angling away like this, it's usually a good play to open it for destroyers. Now, something we could do right now is zoom in and look at the cones on the far end of the circle, get a range. It'll tell you the range to that target. We could verify. I'm assuming that based on what's going on right now, we probably have a long-range sniper type of a destroyer build, Japanese destroyer that's over here, due to the fact that those torps got nearly all the way through the cap, but he never actually touched the cap itself. So, and there's a widespread there. If you're launching torpedoes long range, the percentage of time you should be using widespread torps is 0. I understand you're thinking, okay, they spread out wider, I'm more likely to cover the ground that the target might be in, but it's impossible to hit them, barring the worst act of negligence on the enemy team. I mean, it's so incredibly easy to dodge. You guys know that I'm not the world's best torp dodger known to man. It's something I'm personally working on. But widespread torps, whenever I see them coming towards me, I just give a little thanks to whoever I'm in the mood to thank at the given moment. So just take that out of your arsenal. If you want to use widespread, close range, point blank is the time to do it. Even then, I think once you get better at aiming torps and predicting an enemy's movements, I still think the narrower spreads are going to be more useful. But long range, i.e. anything over 2 kilometers at the most, I would just take it out of your mind. Take it out of the playbook. It's not worth it. I'm firing at this Icarus because, number one, if we can kill him, that's great. We do want to eliminate the destroyers. I'm also firing the guns to check the area where my ship's pointed. I wanted to see if I was getting spotted. We weren't. So that gives me a rough idea that the destroyer at least is not, basically where we're looking at on the screen right now. At least it wasn't when we were shooting. You can always shoot your guns if you're trying to hunt destroyers, see if you get detected, and then if you are, then you can narrow it down. Like, for sure the enemies within your white ring on the map, the max firing range of your ship, That's how far your detection goes when you fire your guns. But you can also make sure, you know, there's no islands in between you and them, because if the line of sight's blocked, of course you won't be spotted. Here the Gneisenau makes kind of a foolish mistake. If you have a destroyer plop down within range of you and you see a cloud, assume torps are coming. And he actually, if you watch when we launched those, the distance to the target was increasing. He was gradually turning away, so I figured as soon as we launched them, that was going to be a missed salvo. But then he kind of flattened out, and we did catch him with that forward, the rightmost torp there. So here I decided to rush him. That's a little ballsy, I guess. And here's some more torps coming in. Those ones look like they're probably narrow spread, just kind of wonky where they come in. But again, here's some widespread. Extremely ineffective. You can fit a full-length Iowa broadside in between those spreads. Very, very easy to dodge. And here, we know where the Kagero is now because he's put down some smoke to protect the Gneisenau. And we're going to take a look at narrow spread launch torps. I'll note that we did hit that Kagero with kind of a blind fire shot earlier. But Gneisenau close range, and we're going to fire 4 directly on top of each other. This is kind of like the nuclear launch. If you hit the target, you're going to hit him 4 times. That's big trouble. And so we assume he's dead, and we're going to target the Kagero here. But yeah, extremely effective. If you put those single launch torps on the target and they hit, that's where the big damage is going to come from those single fire torps. So that's how you use those.
Enemy destroyer founder. We've got 2 of them.
What?
We've got 2 of them.
What?
We've got 2 of them.
Okay! Anyways, other situations use those. If you have like a bow on target that, let's say you have like a cruiser hugging an island, it's kind of stuck stationary, but it's a very narrow target. You can kind of potentially load all those torps directly at them, and rather than hitting them with one torp if you're lucky, you can just stack them on top of each other and hit them that way. So there's situations to use the narrow spreads. I don't typically like to lay wide walls of torps using the narrow spread torps like that, but close range shots where you're relatively certain that you're going to hit them. If you're low tiers and you got some guy just driving in a straight line and you really want to dev strike them, you can single launch them on that. But you got to understand, the further the target is, if they make any sort of minute movements and you've stacked all 4 or even 8 torps directly in a single file line like that, if they move at all, you're going to miss the entire salvo. So longer range torps, those walls of torps are going to be more effective. But if you're reasonably sure that the target's going to be exactly where you're aiming them, that's how you can get some massive damage with these single fires. Jean Bart here did take some flood damage there, so we're trying to start him on fire here. And we're going to go ahead and deploy the smoke here. British destroyers, you have 6 smoke charges. They're very quick reloading. A lot of games, you'll typically want to use all of them if you're in position to be constantly firing your guns. It's a good idea to have a teammate near you because you're going to want someone to spot for you. But if you're near another teammate who's kind of out in the open and spotting, you can keep popping down those smokes, fire for a minute, basically without threat to yourself, and then just pile up the damage. HE shells are the way to go for these British cruisers and all, but very select instances. Here we're kind of trading off. We already have a fire on the near Jean Bart, so I'm trying to hit the further away Jean Bart, get him on fire, to get him to burn his damage count at least. But I don't want to. You can make an argument this is a mistake, leaving this guy alone. He does potentially have a reload launch or a reload booster. If he gets the salvo off and hits someone, that could potentially kill someone on my team. So maybe I should have just focused on the Jean Bart that was low there, even though the fire was going to kill him within short order. Those battleships are very dangerous, and if they get another salvo off, kill someone on a team, that's on you in that instance. Jean Bart's getting away here. I'm shooting at him, so if we can get a fire on him, great. But I'm also doing what we were doing earlier and kind of firing to see if he gets out of my white ring now he's smoked. But had he gotten out of the white ring on his own and then we remained detected, we could have, again, inferred the position or at least gotten some information about the destroyer's locations. And so, firing your shots. Normally when you see teammates shooting at nothing, they're just screwballs goofing off. They'll usually do it early on in the match. But if you see someone firing the guns that look like they actually know what they're doing. That's usually what they're trying to do is, again, firing the guns, seeing if you're detected, and then if you are, you can start to get information on where those destroyers are, because you know they're in the white ring and they have a line of sight on you. Now this guy is asking for help, and I'm going to go over here and we're going to attempt to screen for torps. Maz does pop up and he's relatively close range, so I was expecting some torps to be coming over here, but I'm coming over here to support him because number one, most destroyers late game are going to be trying to nuke battleships. They don't try and win the game usually. They just chase damage. So number one, we expected destroyers to be over here, but number two, we're also trying to spot torps. Unfortunately, we don't have a sonar available, or we could have actually spotted these torps that do pop up a little bit earlier, but we did spot them maybe a second before that guy would have seen him anyways. He is going to end up eating one, and then he bitches about it on the comms wheel or whatever, like, what do you want me to do? We tried. Anyway, we're down to, I believe, a Fletcher and then this Iowa who's got a lot of health left. Obviously, the game's looking pretty good at this instant, but we don't want to take the foot off the gas here. The Fletcher does pop up on the map. I don't quite notice it yet. We're focusing in on this Iowa, trying to get some torps here. You can see the distance is closing in and the indicator is moving from left to right. So he's slowing down. He's attempting to spot. So that's why we aimed where we did. I think looking back at that, maybe the narrow spread should have been as close to that island as possible. He's obviously trying to stop, and a lot of Iowa players have prop mods on there to start and stop a lot quicker, since they usually only go backwards anyways. But since he's kind of pulling back here, what we're trying to do is shoot him, and it's kind of like patting a dog right on the behind. A lot of times it'll startle them, they'll just jump forward. Anytime players get shot, their instinctive reaction is to gun it forward, so we kind of nudged them back towards those torps. So that was the purpose of that play there. Anyway, let's look at some destroyer tactics in the Lightning. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, you should consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. I do love to hear from you. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.